All right, so we did the lab on campus on the 14th. Now it's time to do the post lab, which is going to be due Sunday, January 18th at 11:59 p.m. So whenever we're looking for any information for the lab, we always want to go to the lab handout. So if we open up that lab handout, we can see objectives, disposal, the background information, the procedure, the data you collected, and then post lab. You'll note there's two parts to it. In this case, we have the post-lab questions and we have a conclusion. You won't always be writing a conclusion. Sometimes you'll just be answering post-lab questions. There'll be more of them to fill the full 15 points. So you want to answer these questions and you want to write a conclusion. For this first part, this first lab, you'll note the questions I'm asking are like poking at ideas that are going to be important for the conclusion. So you have the post-lab questions, and then you're going to write the conclusion. There's going to be some overlap. Most of the times I will more avoid that, but for this time, for instructive of like getting you in the right mindset for thinking about what to write, the post-lab questions and conclusion are a little more overlapping. So we've got those two parts to it. So these is the questions where you can find, these three questions you need to answer, and then this you need to write the paragraph for this conclusion. Well, where do you actually submit it? How do you, so you've got these questions. One thing is to answer is your lab notebook you still have access to. So you should be able to go to the lab notebook and see the observations. When I'm asking you questions about your observations, I want you to be responding about your lab group's results, right? What was this value? Compute this. That should be based off the numbers your group measured in lab for filling out that, for answering those questions. So you go to the notebook, you get your observations, then we can go down to the post lab, which is always going to be the last thing in the folder of the lab folder. You can see this little kind of generic description tells you that everything's at the end of the lab handout, and that is due on Sunday the 18th. So it's due on Sunday the 18th. How to submit it, you go to view instructions, and then we've got a text box. You can type in whatever you want. You can also attach something. I generally, this is generally attaching a file generally works, or like, because you only get one submission with these things, writing it in like a text editor and then pasting it into the box, the tool, the text editor, whatever you want to do. But you can also attach a document, attach a PDF. If you want to handwrite it and then take a picture, that's totally fine by me. I do want to note there's a rubric right here. Let's see if this works. Yeah, so the rubric's over here. And so how I have these rubrics, you'll note it's out of 15 points, and then there's these like percentages. These percentages will line up to the points, like in the post, on the lab handout it says this question's worth 1 point. 6.67% of 15 points is 1 point. 13.33% of 15 points is 2 points. So if you drop these down, you'll note that it does convert them into the actual points that it's worth. And this is how I write my rubrics is you'll see this is kind of what I'm expecting for like a perfect response, or not a perfect, but yeah, a complete response, a full, complete, correct response. It doesn't have to be perfect. And that's the information I want in there. You'll note for the conclusion, there's experimental objective, experimental results, conclusion, error analysis, and professional product. These are the 5 parts to the conclusion. When you're going about doing the post lab and writing your conclusion, I encourage you to read through these parts of the rubric to make sure you're hitting those things. Those are the things that I'm looking for in that paragraph. If you have any questions about the conclusion, post lab overall, the conclusion as a part of it, or the questions, whatever, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, it's going to be due on the 18th. Good luck, have fun, enjoy. Bye-bye. I'm not submitting.